Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening we have another phenomenal guest on the Kim B. Davis Show. We have Zaundra Wimberley. She is an author, transition coach, and consultant, and she has written a new book entitled From Fost to Boss. Welcome, Zaundra. Thank you for being on the Kim B. Davis Show.
Thank you, Kim. It's my pleasure. I enjoy speaking with you every time we talk.
Excellent. And we love having you on the show. So I want to read your summary and let me know if I miss anything. Your summary for your book says, do you feel unfulfilled in your current job? Have we not been talking about the Great Resignation? And only show up to pay the bills? Have you lost yourself in your dreams in the midst of a job and life? From Boss to Boss can help you create a blueprint to uncover your true calling and plan your way to success. Zaundra, that is phenomenal. That is right at the center of where so many people are in their lives. We've been struggling with COVID, the pandemic that keeps on giving since 2020. It's now 2022. We've been here for 2 years. We have seen people exit jobs. We see that there are a plethora of jobs that are available, and employers are talking about how they can encourage people to apply and attract good employees. And then we have the political side of it, which I thought was very appropriate. You have so many people who keep saying, this isn't what I signed up for, because now we're at home, we're working remotely. Many of us are transitioning back to the office, but when we were working from home, many people said, is this what I do all day? Do I really want to do this until I retire? Do I feel fulfilled? Is this meeting a need? Many people created businesses and started new things. We saw the growth of TikTok and other places which encourage people to create side hustles. And every time you go on social media, that's what you see people doing, side hustles. So having said all of that, Zaundra Wimberley, talk to us about going from boss to boss.
So it was very personal for me, Kim, because I found myself in a position where I was going from job to job. And it wasn't that I wasn't qualified to do the jobs, because like most people, many of us, we can do multiple things. We can do, we may be a good writer, we may be very organized, which means we can have a particular position because organizational skills are key to success in that position. So, and we may work well with people, or we may manage people well. So you can have multiple jobs that you're good at, but is it your why? Is it that thing that really drives you? Do you get excited every morning when you think about it? Do you not want to end the day because you've got more thoughts and more things that you can do to embellish or improve in the workplace? So it was very personal for me to take a look at what I was doing, take a look at what my true purpose was and what my why was and what the thing was that drove me and that excited me, and move into that.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So now I heard you say your why. So a lot of people might say, well, how do I find out what my why is? How do you find out what the why is?
So the first thing you have to do is really stop. Take a moment to sit, reflect, and think. From day to day, as a mother, and you and I have talked about being a mother and a wife, we can go from morning to afternoon to evening to bed, and then it starts all over again. Somebody's constantly calling or texting, or they need us. We're constantly needed in those other roles. In the wife of, in the role of a mother. I got 2 text messages in the car when I was driving back, one from my daughter who's away in college and one from my son who's away at camp. And they both needed something simultaneously. And so taking time to sit and think and reflect as to what that thing is that you're really good at, what the thing is that you really enjoy most. And sometimes it's buried. For me, it was kind of buried. It was buried in a veil of believing that, oh, I can't do that. I may not be the right size to go into that profession, or I might not have the proper skin tone to go into that profession, or, you know, how could somebody like me do something so grand? And so we tend to believe those things which are not true.
Mhm, mhm. And that is very true. So this made me think of a situation that I saw on television. And are you familiar with the show Shark Tank?
I am.
And so Mr. Mark Cuban was talking with someone about Shark Tank, and he says, there's this myth. He called it a myth. And he said, people always say, go and do what gives you pleasure. Go and find the job that you love. He said, but realistically, you need to go and do what you're good at versus what you love. Is there a difference between what you're good at? Because you just said you went from job to job. You were very organized. You knew how to manage things well. And there are a lot of people, like you said, who are jack of all trades, who do certain things very well, but it doesn't necessarily bring them passion. What would you say to a person like that?
I would say there's a balance between the two. Generally, the thing that you love, if that is your purpose, then you're going to have some skills at it. I know that I am a storyteller, and I mean, I can sit down and I can craft a story. I can tell a story. My children love it every year on their birthday because I retell their birth story. It's just the thing that we do around the house. Okay, it's your birthday. And I start from the beginning of, when the contraction started, and I take them through this long list of things, of occurrences. Each one of them is unique and quite comical until they were born. And they know the stories. They will remember them. And I have told them I want you to share them with my grandchildren one day, but I enjoy it. I love it. And I'm good at it. Mm-hmm. So there's a balance between those two.
That's a great point to talk about balance. So I want to pivot a little bit. So a lot of people will say, oh, I know I can be a boss. But is there a difference? Will you define what a boss is and what a leader is? Or is there a difference, or are they interchangeable?
So I'm playing on the word boss because boss can have a negative connotation. In the context of the book, what I mean when I say from boss is having someone over you, telling you what to do every day, when you can take time off, when you can't, where you need to be, where you need to show up, what time you need to show up, how much you can earn. So the boss is technically controlling your life. Mm-hmm. And being your own boss, or the boss of your life, means that you take that power back. You are in control. So if you are doing something that you enjoy or that you love, then you are crafting and making your own way. Whether you're an entrepreneur, or if you're in a career, you still are in charge of that. You have the power, you have the authority over your career and where you're going to go next. Even if you're working in a job, you still are in control. A leader, the qualities of a good leader, from my perspective, is one that can listen and hear from others. Listen, digest, take advice, take information from others, and not just believe that they know everything. And so a leader listens, and a leader has empathy, and they genuinely care about those that they lead. Those are the two qualities that you have to be a good leader.
So those are some great points that you just made. So this isn't just for people looking to start their own business or to start that career that could turn into a business. This is also for people who might be hesitant to seek a higher position because they'll say, well, here at this level, I'm good at this. I make a good living. But maybe on the other side of that, they could be a more effective boss, leader, so to speak, within their career field. Did I hear that correctly?
Absolutely. And you just never know. You could be the driving force to help others. If that is your purpose and your calling is here to help others, then what better position would you be in if you were leading them to help and guide them?
So can everyone, and I know this is going to sound like I asked you this question already, but can anyone be a boss? Because you just said that the true definition of a leader is someone who can listen. Yet, when we look around the world at different leadership positions, oftentimes you see people who don't necessarily listen well. Is listening a skill that can be developed to make someone a better boss?
Absolutely. And it starts with being aware, self-awareness. So it starts with being aware, and it starts with caring. If you have a desire to be a better leader, then you will take the advice from others because people will tell you when you're not listening. They may not say that you're not listening, but you will, for example, you will implement a new policy, or you will implement or make a new offering to your team members or your staff or your employees, and it'll be rejected. So do you listen to that or do you not? So, but if you listen to them, then you would collaborate and you will implement policies to the best of your ability. I mean, you can't do everything that everybody likes. I mean, COVID taught us that there had to be protocols in place, and whether you liked them or not, you had to follow.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not speaking of that. But when you can, you will implement things that people will appreciate, respect, and they will respect you in turn for listening.
Excellent. So we know from studies and surveys of employees, oftentimes people will say the number one reason that they leave a position is because of their leader or their boss. So if you are, say you are a boss who is not aware of the misgivings that your employees are accusing you of, and people are just leaving, and you just think it's the work, how do you do a self-awareness, or how do you approach your employees to ask? Or is it just simply asking?
It is simply asking. And one of the things that I highly recommend are exit interviews. When a person leaves a position and they have got somewhere to go, they are free to tell it all. And as a matter of fact, they want to tell it all. It was cathartic. They want to release whatever it is that's there for them. They want somebody to know. And so simply asking, why are you leaving? Or if it's not the boss that does it, having somebody, that HR person, or even somebody on the team to interview and say, well, why are you leaving? They will be very frank and very honest as to why they are leaving in many cases.
That is true. I have seen and heard many stories around that. And we always, laugh a little bit about it, and we'll say, you really didn't know? And they'll go, I didn't know. And I'm like, okay, you weren't paying attention.
They weren't paying attention.
They were not paying attention. So speaking of not paying attention, you are a boss. You have a department, you have underlings underneath you who are managers. Does that same rule apply, that the people underneath you need to listen? Or is it just the top boss? Because sometimes you have small problems that start on lower levels and they sort of travel up the chain of command. And if people aren't paying attention, then again, you have that same situation where people start to exit. How should a boss look at people that they hire?
Absolutely. Everyone needs to listen and be aware and communicate. Communication is the key to everything. In team meetings, and making employees and team members feel comfortable sharing information, having a relationship, I believe in, when I manage teams, taking the time to ask people how they're doing and to know something about each person to show that I care. People will be more likely to open up to you and to communicate with you and to share with you what they hear or what they see before it becomes a problem. But absolutely, from the very top to the mid-management to the lower management to frontline employees, absolutely everyone should listen, and there should be a very strong sense of communication.
Great. All right. So I just heard you talk about communication. And I know, and I've seen this because I've experienced it, where I've had really good upper management teams communicate very well, and you have a great relationship. I've seen other teams, it's not so well. And it turns into this forced relationship where you feel like you have to share, but you don't want to because it's uncomfortable. How do you, as an employee trying to speak to your boss, how do you navigate that? Or how should a boss navigate that where they feel that there's pushback from the employees because they don't feel comfortable in sharing?
What I recommend in instances like that, there's usually one employee that has the boss's ear. It's just, I have never had a position where there wasn't one, that whomever that boss is, or supervisor or manager, they tend to trust that person. They would listen to that person. And my recommendation is to use that person to share that feedback. For whatever reason they feel most comfortable listening to them, they receive from them. So sharing feedback and sharing recommendations through that person is one way to communicate upward.
Great. So you are an author, a transition coach, and a consultant. Tell us what we can expect from you in terms of your services, and tell us about your services.
Sure, absolutely. Well, in addition to the book is the jumpstart for the training that I do. And it's called, my training is called Boss, Pivoting to a Boss Life. So I have a series under that. And so you can take the training, the workshops, and learn the steps that you can take to finding your purpose, the steps that you can take to actually making a career transition or actually transitioning into your own business. So at the conclusion of the workshops, you have the tools that you need to move forward and make those next steps, whether it's the planning and having your next 12 months planned out, or 6 months, or however long, or whether it is the next step that you're going to take to transition to your next career.
Excellent. If there is one message from your book that people can take away right now, what is that one message you'd like people to know?
The one message that I woke up one day and thought to myself is, life is too short to be miserable. If you are going to work every day to pay the bills, and you sit on the side of the bed every morning, or you lay in the bed and hit the snooze button 10 times, and you sit trying to figure out ways to call off sick because you just don't want to go into this job, you're not being fulfilled from the job. It is just a box checker so that you can pay your bills. Life is too short to live in misery like that. You have to move forward and have something to look forward to. You may need to stay in that position. You may not be able to just quit overnight, but you absolutely can begin to plan your way out of that and become the boss of your life.
Excellent, excellent. So what do you have coming up, Zaundra? You've got a book launch coming up, I understand. Tell us about it.
Yes, I do. On August 5th, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Irwin Art Gallery on West Grand Boulevard, I have a book launch and a book signing. So I will be there in person, and I will be signing books and talking to people and encouraging those that would like to sign up for my training. I have a book trailer that will be unveiled at that time, and we will have a great time. We'll have some wine and cheese, and we'll talk, and I will sign a lot of books prayerfully.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Zaundra, thank you for being on the Kim B. Davis Show. Tell us how we can find you. Share us the website where your book will be. Share again the date for your book launch and all your social media handles.
Absolutely. My book launch is August 5th. That is a Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Irwin Art Gallery on West Grand Boulevard. My website is ZaundraWimberley.com. That's ZAUN, D as in David, RA, Wimberley.com. You can connect with me on Twitter at Pro Zaundra W, Facebook, Zaundra Wimberley, Dream Z, as in Zaundra. And you can email me at info@dreamzenterprises.com. So I am available, I'm out there, and I thank you and appreciate you so much, Kim.
And thank you for writing this book, because this is going to help a lot of people. Like I said, a lot of people are really struggling right now. We hear about the Great Resignation, which I think is a funny moniker that's been given to this time, but a lot of people are really thinking about, is this what I want to do? And it's funny because on one of the local news media channels, they were actually having this conversation, talking about how they lucked up into a television career that they enjoy, that they are paid well for, and that, you know, worked with them during the pandemic. But where you have other people who literally just work a 40-hour week are struggling, and they're going, is this really what I want to do? You hear it all the time. You hear people who went to law school who said, I never wanted to be a lawyer. I only did it because my parents wanted me to be a lawyer. Or you have bankers or doctors or different people, and they're like, I don't want this career. And then the next thing you know, they're like, oh, I want to write a book, or I want to travel around the world and be a travel agent. And people look at them and go, but you make whatever your salary is, and now you want to do it on a whim. Or you'll have someone who will say, oh, I want to make jewelry. Yeah. They're like, you're a professional. You have a 4-year degree and a postgraduate degree, and you want to make jewelry. And oftentimes those people, when they follow their passions, as you said, it will come. So I think this is very important and a very appropriate conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Zaundra. We hope that you will join us again, and we can continue this conversation on talking about from going from Fost to boss. Make sure you guys check it out. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Kim B. Davis Show. You know me as your host, Kim B. Davis. I can be found on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, everywhere on social media. And it's Kimberly, and Bachelor is spelled BATCHELOR Davis. You can see the show on youtube.com/Kimberly Bachelor Davis. You can hear the show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and Wisdom. And you can also learn more about me as an author at KimBDavis.com. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope you'll join us for our next episode. And as always, remember, be magnificent.